Hi, kids. All right, today we are going to do chapter 2 of Washed Up. You should have already read chapter 1, I hope, because you need to know what happened in chapter 1 before you move on to chapter 2. You should have finished your Cornell note questions and your quick check that goes along with that. So, here are our Cornell note questions for chapter 2. They are: what details from the text supports the idea that Mrs. Walpole might not do well as a contestant on Washed Up? We learned a little bit about her in chapter 1. We're going to learn even more in chapter 2. The second question: what impact or effect does the setting have on the Walpoles? I don't know. What do you think? Number 3: explain the relationship between the members of the Lou family. Who seems to be in charge? Number 4: what details support the fact that the weather is changing for the Lous? Make sure you include text evidence. You guys can see there's 2 questions that need text evidence. The rest of them you need to also, if text evidence should be there, use your text evidence. Turn the question around, practice race, just like we have all school year. So, chapter 2, it's going to be just like chapter 1. I'm going to have the words on the screen so you guys can see also as I read to you. So here we go. Chapter 2. As I predicted. In so little time, so much has changed. Perhaps Berry Blue was referring to her hairdo, woven with leaves to make her look like a forest nymph. Now the Walpoles were on the TV screen, and they didn't cut as pretty a picture. Mrs. Walpole had just emitted a blood-curdling cry that shook the forest to its root after a spider had used her hand as a landing pad. So here we have her with her spider hand. "We need a fire to keep the creepy crawlies away," said Mr. Walpole frantically. Oliver inhaled deeply. "Dad, the matches are all wet." "Oh, great. Let's play the blame game," said Harvey Walpole. "Your mother was half drowning in the waves, and you wanted me to think about the matches?" The water they'd waded through to come ashore had only been knee-deep, but Oliver bit his lip. This was probably not the best time to make a point. "It's too sticky for a fire anyways," says Mrs. Walpole, lifting one perfectly arched eyebrow, "and it makes my hair frizz." So there we have Berry Blue with her hair filled with leaves. Oliver said nothing. He was looking at the jungle canopy towering above them like a 30-story building. Up. It seemed the only way to escape a forest floor teeming with bugs was to go up. But the thought of it made him a little lightheaded. He stared at the buttress roots propped up the tallest tree and masses of vines and creepers that looked like spaghetti. The thought of food made Oliver's stomach rumble. The creepers weren't for eating, but they were as thick as a man's arm, twisted and twining up to the sun. Maybe they had other uses. "Let's make a camp," he shouted. "We can cut these creepers and build somewhere to sleep." "I'll handle that," said Mr. Walpole, gallantly. And Oliver heaved an inward sigh of relief. The family spat had been postponed, at least for now. You can see in the background a little bit of the vines, but when we go to the next screen, you have a better understanding. Mr. Garcia was also looking up, which explained why his foot got caught in a mess of tangled roots. His ankle throbbed painfully, but his heart jumped. Water, food, fuel, and shelter. That was it! Coconut palms, said Gabriella, feeling thankful that these drift seeds that had traveled across oceans and on currents to take root on this remote island. She shot her father a worried look as he extracted his foot, wincing. "Are you okay, Papa?" And you can see the dad's face as he is wincing. We'll zoom in a little. And his ankle is stuck. He nodded, although a red-hot flash of pain surged through his leg as they trudged forward. The mud clinched around his feet. The tide was coming in faster than they expected, submerging their swampy jetty and threatening to overcome them. Sprained ankle or not, they would have to keep moving, even if every movement was excruciatingly slow. They clambered to dry land as the tide rose higher. "We'll slash palm leaves together for our shelter here," said Gabriella, recalling all the survival adventures she'd watched on TV and read about in books. They made it look so easy. "Save some palm fronds for the ground to insulate us," she said, and saw the agreement in her father's face. Then he looked away. Gabrielle's father had never stepped out of the little town where he was born, and now they were in a mangrove swamp. There would be rising tides and hungry crocodiles, as well as the leeches and snakes that she hoped the palm fronds would protect them from. Gabriella was glad she didn't have to spell it out for him. Bugs. The Loos weren't having it easy either. There was only enough bread, cheese, and raisins to last one whole day, if they ate frugally. The temperature had dropped noticeably, and the wind whistled like a banshee. Mrs. Loo's teeth were chattering already. "Look, warm," she stuttered, still sparing a frozen smile for the flying cameras. Mr. Loo's speech was slurred. "No animal can survive this." And see, there's the weird camera again. The twins exchanged looks. Early signs of hypothermia. They had to find shelter, and fast. Shin's thoughts were wandering again. How did animals survive this windy wasteland of grass and rock? "Gelida baboons," said Mai, reading Shin's thoughts as always. Didn't these primates of Ethiopian highlands escape their windswept habitat by climbing down steep cliff faces at nightfall, roosting in ledges? The minutes were slipping away as fast as their body heat now, and Shin knew the cold, thin air was making it hard for him to think. "Follow us!" Shin cried out to his parents. Mai was pulling the tarps out of their bags, her hands fumbling at the zipper. Shin had a plan now, but he needed a tree for this to work, and there were no trees so far above the tree line. Could he use a rock? Maybe. Or three? An outcrop of three rocks. Now that would work. Dizzy now, Shin felt the wind stinging his eyes as he peered over the ledge of the mountain to look at a narrow sill. Only a few feet down. It would do. It would have to. Now, isn't that ingenious? Barry Blue, in an army fatigue now, was clapping. The Loos were tucked inside two large tarp hammocks slung over the cliff, mooring by rocks. Below them, a tiny ledge between them and nothingness. And here they are in their little hammock tarps, just swinging in the wind. "There's always a solution to every problem," Barry Blue said, cocking her head thoughtfully to one side. The Garcias were crawling into their palm leaf shelter, and the Walpoles were already inside what appeared to be a large cross frame made of creepers suspended above the ground. "So safe, so sound," said Barry Blue. pretending to yawn and hugging her heart-shaped pillow. Good night, and oh, sleep tight. Now we have this interactive button, so let's see what we're gonna do now. This is just little playing cards. If I'll hover over and you can pause it if you would like to read about the different characters in the book. So first we have Gabriella, and we have her brother, or that's her father, Mr. Garcia, Shin and May, Mr. and Mrs. Liu, Oliver, and then we have his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Warple. All right, so you can go back, pause those if you want to read a little bit more about the characters. Don't forget, we have our comprehension questions for chapter 2. So you should be answering these on your Cornell notes and maybe looking over these a little bit as you do your quick check. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. And that is it for chapter 2. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow for chapter 3. Bye.